Okay, welcome back. We're going to build a toroidal type shape, maybe like an earring or something along those lines. We're going to build a mold cavity. We're going to do all of this without getting into assemblies using the mold cavity. We're not going to get into any sprues or any gates, anything along those lines. That's going to be a later lesson. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. We want to make sure that we understand how this thing actually works. So you'd have a mold top that's going to come down. You're going to inject some type of material in here and we're going to create a solid out of it. So let's go ahead and get started. We want to make sure that we are in a SolidWorks application. We want to make sure that we're creating a new part. And in that part, our standard, we want it to be in pounds and seconds. Also, what we want to do is we want to come up to our options tab at the very top, select options, and then document properties, and then our units. We want to make our units to be probably 5th place decimal because we're going to be using some relatively tight tolerances there towards the end of this. So go ahead and accept it. And we want to create a sketch. So I've opened up my sketch tab. I'm going to select the top plane, and then I want the little flyout comes up and I select sketch. It's going to orient normal to me. Come up and grab a simple circle. Place a circle here, and we want to add a smart dimension. So select the smart dimension and we want to make this 1. Now I can exit my sketch. I'm going to click out in the modeling space somewhere and make sure that I don't have it still selected. So I'll come up to the top plane. I select sketch again, and I want to verify over here. So we have sketch 1 and now we're working on sketch 2. So let's pick another circle. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. I'm going to place a circle here somewhere. So smart dimension, I want to come from the origin to the center of my circle. I want that to be 0.1. And I think my circle, I want it to be 0.625. And I click out in the modeling space somewhere, and I'm going to use my escape key a couple times. Now what I have is I have this circle. It's 0.1 away from the origin, but it's not oriented horizontally. So I'm going to use my control key, hold my control key down. I'm going to select the origin and the center point of the circle, and I'm going to make those two horizontal. So now we're fully defined with there, so we can exit our sketch. Click out on the modeling space. I'm going to use my Control 7 command. We place this in an isometric. That's the shortcut for it. So we want to use the front plane. The flyout opens up. We want to select a sketch there. I'm going to use the Control 8 command for mine, and that orients it normal to me. So I want to pick another simple circle. So I'm going to place a circle in this area. And now I want to add a little bit of help. So what I want to do is I want to come up and just add a sketch point, and I want to select over here at 0 and 180 on my circle. So we now have 2 sketch points. I'm going to use my escape key, and I'm going to rotate this thing around ever so slightly where you can see what's going on. So I want to come up and I'm going to use this add relations up here instead of using my control command. That way I can kind of explain a little bit better. So we select add relations. So the entities, I don't have anything selected. So one of these sketch points that we added to our circle, and the first circle that we drew, I want to make it a Pierce relationship. So what it does is it places that point on that first circle that we drew. Now if I pick something completely independent of those two, it's going to accept what we just did and then move forward. So I'm going to come pick this point and the second circle that we drew, and I want to add a Pierce relationship for it as well. So what that's done is that's actually created a fully defined sketch for us. I want to come down to the bottom and verify that we are fully defined, and we are. So we're good to exit the sketch. So I'm going to use the Control 7 command again where we can see what's going on. So now we should have sketch 1, sketch 2, and sketch 3. So sketch 3 is going to be our profile. So we come up to our features tab. Now we have a couple of other things that are available to us even though we don't even have material out here. So let's come up and select swept boss base, and then it's going to ask what profile we would like. So we want this profile, the last sketch that we did, the path that we want to choose. I'm just going to pick the outer ring. It doesn't really matter which one, but then we're going to need a guide curve. So I come over and I select guide curves, and the guide curve that I want is going to be this inner circle. So now we have this odd shape type earring. So pretty difficult to make if you were trying to figure out some other way, but now that we've created that sweep with those 2 guide paths, it makes it a lot easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to create a mold cavity. So I want to come up and I want to select insert, surface, and then a surface offset. And I want to make sure that my offset is just the same size as everything that we have here. So I pick it, and It's doing nothing more than copying a surface, so I accept it. Now we have a couple bodies. One of them is a surface body and one of them is a solid body, and it shows a sweep and it shows a surface body. I'm going to hide the sweep for just a moment, and if we split this surface body in half, it should be hollow. And sure enough, we look in there, it is hollow. So we know that we have a solid body. Let's go ahead and show it as well, and the solid does have material in it. So I'm going to go ahead and hide my solid, and I'm going to unselect this section view here. Alright, so now what I want to do is I want to create a mold cavity that's going to be able to house this earring. Alright, so I'm going to come to the top plane, select it, and I want to sketch. Let's orient it normal to us, and I want a polygon. So I'm going to come up here and pick a polygon, and I want it to be 4 sides, which is nothing more than just a square, but it adds some relations for me that I don't have to worry about later. So they're all going to be, all sides are going to be even. So I'm going to hit my escape key a couple times. So now we have this inscribed circle in here that touches all 4 lines tangentially, and I want to make this horizontal line, this bottom line, I want to make it horizontal. So I pick it, and fly out comes up, and I can now make it horizontal. And now I want to add a smart dimension. So I come up, select a smart dimension. I think I want this to be 1.25, and we are fully defined. And now I can rotate this thing around, Control 7, and I want to select features and extruded boss base, and I want to make this thing maybe 0.75. Well, the problem is it's going one direction. I really don't want one direction. I want it to go mid-plane, so I come up and I change it from blind to mid-plane. It's actually a pretty thick part. Let's go ahead and make this maybe 0.625. We'll take that and then exit there. So now I still have a swept body, I still have a boss, and I still have a surface extrude in here, or a surface offset. So what I want to do is I want to create a cavity on the inside of this thing. So I come up to Insert, Features, and then we can intersect. So let's select Intersect. It's going to ask us what we would like to intersect. I want our surface body, so I expanded this out. I'm going to pick the surface body, and I'm also going to expand this out, and I want to pick the boss extrude. So then when I select Intersect, it's going to ask what region I want, and just make sure that whenever you select the region that it changes the color of whatever it is. So I can deselect it and then select it again just to verify that that's the right selection, and then I want to hit my my green check to accept it. Now I'm going to split my body in half, and we do have a cavity in here, so I'm pretty comfortable with that. Now what I want to do is I want to split this mold in half. So let's come up and let's select a sketch. So I've opened up my sketch tab. Now I have to select sketch. It's going to ask where we'd like to create a sketch. Let's just pick this face here. Control 8. Now I want to pick a regular line. I'm going to come over and tickle this left hand edge till the midpoint symbol shows up. One mouse click, pull it straight across, and let the other midpoint show up, and a second mouse click, and your sketch should be fully defined, and it is. So I'm going to rotate this thing around where we can see what's going on. Now what I want to do is I want to insert features and the split command. It's going to ask us what we want to do. We want to cut the bodies. Now it's still going to try to cut that solid body in here as well, but I don't really want to do that. I want to pick this lower half and this upper half, but I do not want to consume the bodies. It may eat one or all the bodies, so make sure that you uncheck that, and then we go ahead and accept it. So now we should have 3 solid bodies. We have a split, and a sweep. I want to hide this top portion of it. So if I select it over here in the graphics area and click on the eyeball or the glasses, I'm also still showing my surface body here. I want to go ahead and hide that as well. That way I know what's going on. So we're only showing this split here. So let's create another extrusion. So we select extrude, and it's asking where we would like to create the extrusion. I want it to be on this face here. I want it to orient normal to me. Now I'm going to come up and select a center line. I'm going to come up and tickle this midpoint, pull it down here, and then I want another one from here to here. Alright, so now I have 2 center lines here. So let's come up and select a circle. We're going to put some dowel pins in this thing, so we want to use a smart dimension. Let's make this 0.1875, And then we want to select from the edge to the center point of our circle. Let's make that 5/32, so that's 0.15625. And we'll do the same thing from here to here. That's also 0.15625. So those are our decimal places. Now this thing is going to calculate no matter what. It's 9 decimal places unless you go out and really change some settings. But this just shows you, just in case you got some fumble fingers and misrepresented one of these dimensions. So what we want to do here is we don't want to do this over and over and over. So we're going to come up and mirror entities. So the entity we want to mirror is the circle. Now it thinks that we may want to select something else, but we want to mirror about something. I want to pick the vertical center line that we had or that we drew earlier. I want to accept that. I also want to mirror it one more time. So let's select mirror entities. I want to pick this circle, and then I have to force it down and mirror it about this side. So we accept that. All right. So now we don't have any body showing except this one. This time we want to make sure that our merge results is on. So come to features, and we want to select extruded boss base. Let's just make this like 0.39 so it'll know that it'll stick out the other side, and we accept it. Alright, so we want to create another offset surface here. So let's come up and select Insert, Surface, Offset, still selected at 0. We want to pick all 4 of these dowel pins and accept those. So now we have all of these surface bodies as well. Now I want to show the upper split, and I want to hide our last boss extrude. So those surface bodies are in here. So let's come up and select Intersect. So Insert, Features, Intersect. I want to pick all 4 of those surface offsets that we had and this body. So we want to intersect. Now the regions that we want are going to be these areas here. Somehow I missed this one. Alright, so we want to accept that. It should be the holes all the way through. Now I want to hide all 4 of these surface bodies. So I can come up here and click on Surface Offset. Hold my Shift key down. Click on the last one. It's going to pick all of them. And then I can select the eyeballs or the glasses, and I can hide those as well. So now our upper mold and our lower mold, one of them should have pins, one of them should have holes, and then we also have the sweep that's in here as well. Alright, so let's cut this thing in half and take a look and see what's going on in here. Alright, so our body is split here. There's where the earring would be, and then these where the pins would be, the ejector pins would be in our mold. Alright, so I'm going to unselect this. Now we have to save this thing, so let's save it out. And I'm going to call mine Junk. Alright, so now that we've got it saved, we would need to create an assembly with this thing. So we can come over here to our solid bodies, we can right click, and then we can save bodies. I want to do something first though, just to help us keep these things straight. So the sweep, I want to select the sweep, the wording, and then I'll click on it, and I will hesitate for just a moment, and then I click again, and then it allows me to rename it. So I'm going to go EARRNG, then I'm going to select it, select again, and this is BTTM for the bottom, and this one, click it and click it again, and it's going to be top, okay? So now we have all these bodies somewhat named where they're kind of logical. So I'll come over here to the bodies, I'm going to right click, and then I want to save my bodies. I'm going to pick, and it automatically named them for me. It's going to consume the body, so let's go ahead and accept it. Alright, don't be concerned that it all disappeared. We want to go and find where they are. It didn't open them up for us automatically, so I'll come over here. I'm going to open up the junk folder, and then I want to open this one. Control. So let's go File, Open. this, Control this, and this. I want to open all of those. So we have all these parts open. What I can do now is I can come up and say File, New, Assembly, and OK. I have this open. I want to pick the bottom part. Now if I just place it out here, then it's going to create a little bit of headache when I try to assemble it. So I have it picked, and if I come up and just select my green check, it's going to place it where I model it. So now I want to come up and insert a component. I want to pick the earring. Notice how it places it over there for me. Once it's placed, I go ahead and accept it, and then I want to insert the component again, and I want to pick the top and place it as well. So after we've got all that done, we can save this thing out in the proper naming format, and you can submit that in your learning management system.